Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. If we have some people chiming in after I get rolling, that's no big deal. We're also recording this, so if anyone has to hop in and out, no big deal. My name is Marcy Grant. I am the Savvy STR agent for Southwest Ohio, specifically Cincinnati, Dayton. I extend all the way east to the Hocking Hills, Logan County area, and all the way down to the Ohio River, and so that bottom left chunk. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of cleaners for your short-term rental success. And I feel very strongly about the topic, so I was asked to hop up on that pulpit today. So here I am. Our agenda will be straight to the point. I'll give you a little more info about me and what I do. We'll talk about building the right team of cleaners. We'll talk about best practices for your turnover cleans, deep cleans, and supply management. Then we'll talk a little bit about cleaning issues and resolution, and then have some time for Q&A at the end. Our intention is to end right at 11:30, so everyone can go about the rest of their day. But if we do need some additional time, I'm always available for one-on-one chats as well. So first, this is our awesome Savvy team. As you can see, I'm the Cincinnati agent, but we do have agents all over the country. So we are growing and getting better by the day. My management level license in Ohio basically means that I can train other agents. I'm not a broker, but I'm slightly sales manager level above. I also am state certified continuing education instructor for other real estate agents. I do a lot of training on the contracts, best practices, and really the overall practice of real estate, specific to Cincinnati, but I'm licensed in all of Ohio. I'm executive VP of sales with Plumtree Realty, and I've been an STR property manager owner. This will be my 5th year. So lots of lessons learned, and hard ones, easy ones, but mostly hard ones. So the first step for your STR cleaning business is finding your team. And there's a lot of value in finding the right people. So I found a lot of wrong people. So now that I have found a lot of right people, I'm able to refine more specifics around what created this environment today, how we found the right people, and how we're going to retain the right people. So first step is your verbal interview. I normally keep this to about 5 minutes on the phone, simply because you can usually tell within those first few minutes if that individual is going to align personality-wise with you and your business, and a lot about their ethics and such, just in that back and forth initial conversation. So a lot of people ask, where do you find cleaners? Honestly, I found one of my cleaners because she sent me a message on my Airbnb platform, and she's a local cleaner. She was hustling business. I loved it. Her grammar was correct. So we interviewed, and she's been on my team going on 2.5 years now. Another came from a personal referral from another real estate agent. So I don't put out ads for cleaners. It's more of a one-on-one referral, or again, the one who reached out directly. I respected that, and she's been a great addition. So the other piece I like to talk about in that first conversation is experience. I like to know how long they've been cleaning, specifically what they clean, commercial, residential. Hotel is a really nice one to have, even though it's not quite residential. I like the attention to detail that comes with a hotel cleaner. The additional pieces are, do you own your own cleaning business and have additional people working for you, or are you a solo operation? I have a little bit of both currently on my team. And then the personality is big for me, mainly because I'm very hands-on. I was texting with one of my cleaners this morning, and that needs to be something that's comfortable on both sides. Plus, aligning personalities among your cleaners is really helpful. No one wants to go to work and be miserable because the humans that you work with are undesirable. So that's an important part that is the non-tangible, and making sure that we're getting the right person on the team. That has been invaluable. And then the other pieces are conversations around schedule availability. As you know, STR cleaning calendars change quite frequently. How many cleans do they normally carry in a week? Is it possible to adjust at the last minute? How flexible are they? These are really important pieces for me to know, because there may be times I need to shuffle cleaners, and I need to know if you're able to help me with that. Not all the time, but sometimes if I need a solid, I need to know you can make it happen. And then finally, I'll ask for a few references and reach out to either past employers or past clients or current clients, just to get a good idea of their actual performance, and if there's any opportunities I should expect to approach with them in their cleaning process with me. From there, if everything aligns, we schedule an in-person interview. That is one where we normally will meet just for lunch. I don't take them quite to the property at that point. That's normally the third step, but we'll meet again. It's either a coffee or a lunch. These are quick. I'm going to learn everything I need to know about you very quickly moments. And I like to first assess their presentation. Even though they're going to be cleaning, you can wear whatever you want. I really don't care. How do you present yourself when you're meeting with a potential employer? That has importance to me. So I will purposely do this to see how they decide to present at this interview, and the successful ones present as such. The other piece is that unspoken communication on the personality side. If there's a good back and forth, if they're comfortable communicating, because sometimes they will interact with guests, I want to make sure that there's someone who could communicate in a healthy way with guests. There's not a brash energy there. There's a good communal hospitality piece there. From there, if that goes well, we will schedule our property walk, and we'll go through some of the specifics for the properties. I normally don't walk them through every property. I'll normally take them just through one. And I currently manage a total of 5. We have 2 more coming on at the start of the year. So I'll typically walk them through one of our single family properties and just walk through and really showcase what our expectations are. That is important, to completely align expectations right off the bat and see if they're comfortable with that. And again, that's a great one-on-one time to watch response to certain statements around every clean. I need you to do X, Y, Z, and here's how we make our beds, and here's how we keep our supply closet organized. And I'm watching to see, do they agree with me, or do they feel like that's maybe a non-mandatory piece? It's not non-mandatory. And so it's really important that I'm there for that piece to make sure that they're, again, aligning with the values that we have as a company and aligning with the standard that I'm going to set for when they're out independent, because I need to understand that they know these are non-negotiables. From that point, we also talk about sub-cleaners. I do have one of my cleaners on my team. I have a total of 3 full-time and a couple of fill-ins, but I also talk to them about their subs. If they have a company and they will sometimes employ others, I have some very specific requirements around that. It's good to get that on the table right away and make sure everyone's on the same page. I personally do not want any sub-cleaner on my property unless and until I've put them through the interview process. I treat them as a completely separate cleaner. And then if you want to employ them, that's something that you can talk to me about. But for my properties, you're the only person I've hired. So that is also another quality control piece. So as the telephone and in-person interview progress, I can gain a really good understanding of how this employee and I are going to work together, if we're going to work together, if I can depend on them, because we do depend strongly on our cleaners, and if it's someone who's going to be with me long-term, because I put a lot of time into training and I don't want to waste time on someone who's not dependable and not going to be part of my team. From there, I'll send over our property-specific checklists. We'll touch base on those next, and have them review, see if they have any questions, see if they're comfortable with the list. It's very specific and it's very detailed. And also, one of the more valuable pieces that I found, new eyes are always super valuable. So as we've gone through the property together in person, and then I follow up with that checklist, what would you change about this checklist? And so I'll give them permission to tell me what to do, and we'll add things, we'll change things, we'll switch up a process, because sometimes we get used to doing the same thing And it really has developed and made our lives easier. We're all very community-based and oriented in this process. And then they get to feel like they've added value to the team already. From that point, we stop talking, we start doing. They're paired with my trainer. She is my head cleaner. She was in the hospitality industry for about a decade and trained hotel cleaners. So she's very oriented with how I process around checklists and expectations. They pair with her and they do at least one clean with her at each property. And then from there, we'll schedule them as the primary, and then she'll come in after, and those are the reviewed cleans. And then from that point, if all is well and she's comfortable, I'm comfortable, they have the sign off for independence, and then they'll have their own cleans. So the whole process with that, depending on the time of year, could be up to 3 weeks before they're ready for independence. But they also understand that it's very important that they do things the way that we do them and the way that they need to get done. And once they're independent, they're on their own. I don't go in and check behind all of my cleaners after every clean. If I have to do that, you're no longer an efficient cleaner for me, and I need to remove you from my team. So the key to building the right team is it is so valuable to have the boots on the ground and the eyes on that property every single turnover. As a manager, I do not go and walk that property between every single turnover. I depend largely on my cleaners to create an environment that my next guest will come in and feel welcomed, comfortable, safe, and that the property functions the way that it's supposed to function. So it takes a lot of energy away from me to have to do that myself. So my cleaners are infinitely important in the function of my STR business because they're my eyes and my ears. They're my troubleshooters. They're my tattletales. They're all of the pieces, and they have to really align mentally with that and understand how important they are. This can't just be an 80% give, and that is really important. And when you find cleaners that align that way, your life becomes so much easier as far as your turnovers and your guest satisfaction. That is the key. And so that's why I spend a lot of time vetting the right cleaner, because I understand how important the right cleaner is, especially for my clients who are out of state, or for properties that are a bit farther out where I'm not going to be visiting nearly as often as I could if it were down the road. My cleaners really are going to make or break that property for me. And I can't overstate that because, as you all know, you start getting nasty reviews with dirty properties, things not functioning properly. It really can take a toll. So they are definitely front lines. They are super duper important. And we couldn't do this without them, without a good one. So we also have one of the tools that I'll give to my cleaners is a very specific expectation. And I found that communicating expectations clearly means everyone wins. I win because when you satisfy those, I'm satisfied, and you know exactly what's expected. So if you're going to fall short, it's because of a choice, not because of ignorance. So we have very specific, detailed property checklists for each property. It goes room by room in kind of a logical flow, and they're very detailed. There's a completion check mark. This goes all the way down to open the silverware drawer and check for crumbs and fingerprints. Open the oven and check for debris and for food items. It's line by line. Most of it is no-brainer stuff, but what you also will find is even a good cleaner over time, it's very comfortable with their process, and they'll forget this piece. And this will be the one piece that next guest finds. So you want to assume the best of humans, and we all do, and my cleaners are great, but they're also humans. So these checklists are designed to make sure they don't get too comfortable. Everything needs to be done every single time. And that's something that has really, we instituted the checklists about 3.5 years ago as we started to grow, and it just makes everyone's life easier. It's great for my trainer. She can go down the checklist with people, and so she doesn't have to retain it all. If I have to substitute a cleaner quickly, it's a plug and play. Here's the checklist for that property. follow the checklist. There's no secrets. And again, that keeps our guest satisfaction high, that keeps our cleaning consistency high, and it keeps everyone on the same page. And when someone falls short, it's something we can go back and easily reference. And we always are continuing to develop these checklists with pieces. We've started to add some seasonal pieces in there as well. So let it be a living, breathing document, because that's how we're going to constantly get better. And again, we always focus on our guest experience and satisfaction. So down to on the tissue boxes, make sure you fold the top tissue so that it's a nice triangle, which I can't do, but it doesn't look like it was used by the last guest. It's presentable. Little pieces like that are intentional, and they're very, very clearly relayed. So it's just a no-brainer all the way down. We also, my cleaners also manage my supplies. Again, they're on site. They know how quickly we burn through things. They know what gets used, what doesn't get used, what's not an effective use. So they also manage my supply count. So we also have a checklist. I was an employee at a surgeon's office for a long time, and I got real used to the PAR checks. The PAR is the amount that we need, and then we that process going. And they're very aware. This is a very specific part of your task at every turnover clean. You need to inform me when we need supplies. When we're down to 24 rolls of toilet paper, you need to inform me that it's time to order. I'll confirm with you it was ordered. I'll confirm delivery. You'll confirm restock. And so that process is repeatable for every single supply, disposables, consumables, linens, all of those pieces. And so it's a very fluid and a very active process all the time. We keep all stock on site at each property. My head cleaner does have a good stock in her garage when I do find a great deal at Costco. And we'll just make sure we track those appropriately by property, but most of the supplies are on site. So it makes life nice and easy. They're organized. That checklist takes them about 5 minutes at the end of their clean. So again, efficiency and really job satisfaction is a big part of making sure that you keep good cleaners. And so the easier that is, again, the expectation is right there. And we're focusing on that guest experience and satisfaction. And they're saying some things, nobody's using these makeup wipes. I wonder if this brand is terrible. We can switch it up. So I take their advice into account a lot as well. Part of the other expectation that I have with cleaners, and that you should also with your STR, are regular deep cleans. Property maintenance is not a piece that my cleaners do, but I do feel like that's an important piece to include here too. But quarterly deep cleans are vital. Normally we can work those in at the tail end of a easier, shorter clean, so it doesn't always have to happen at the end of a quarter. It just needs to happen regularly. So if we have a quick turnover, we had guests for one night, I'll suggest to my cleaner, hey, why don't you go ahead and bang out some of our deep clean? That way we're most of the way done. So deep cleans include, it's a separate checklist. Deep cleans include your HVAC vents, your intakes. They'll dust those, but sometimes it's best to take those off, vacuum down inside. Baseboards are done at every turnover clean, but this one's a real deep scrub. These are our window blinds. These are, we CLR our faucet heads and our shower heads just to make sure things are flowing easily. We have some old properties in some older areas. The lime scale tends to build up. We just try to avoid problems on the property. So those are pieces we've learned over time. And again, are very property specific, but a great cleaner is going to want to ensure satisfaction as well. So they're a part of that, and they take some ownership of that process too. I have great handymen and contractors who do my seasonal maintenance. Seasonal cleaning is more so the outdoor pieces. We have fire pits, decks, patios. Those are part of what my cleaners will address when the season is appropriate. They'll check the fire pit. They'll make sure the patio is nice and swept and there's no fall leaves on it. That just goes on top of their normal list. And then interior, exterior preventative maintenance. I take a lot of that on myself as far as a seasonal checklist for the property. And then we will outsource, recalking windows, gutter cleaning, brick mortar patch, garage door painting, little things like that. Again, definitely important, not quite part of the cleaning piece, but from guest satisfaction and just sheer staging and presentation, I like to roll that in with my seasonal cleaning because it keeps us all on track. The other piece, and I didn't make a slide about this, is the pay for my cleaners. I pay my cleaners per clean. I don't pay anybody by the hour because I'm not incentivizing you to be slow. That's all you do when you pay someone by the hour. I pay you by the job because over time, it's all going to come out in the wash. You may have a super simple clean. You had 2 guests, 1 overnight, boom, done. Bang out some of the deep clean. You're there in less time. Life is good. You still make the same amount of pay as for the next guest who stayed for a week, who brought a dog and let it on all the beds and just completely didn't clean up a thing. But what I found is over time, my cleaners don't complain about those. They don't nickel and dime me on a deep clean if it's just due to a guest. I don't get the emotional response because they know that over time, they've earned more than enough extra money to manage that on their own, and I don't need to manage that with them. They tell me, they inform me, hey, we might lose a duvet because of the dog. Okay, but I don't get the complaining. And that's just not something I'd accept anyhow. But at the end of the day, it just is a better organization for me. Here's your pay for clean for this house, this one. They're all separated, it's tracked, and everyone knows you get the same amount. So I'm not paying you to be fast, but I'm paying you to be good. And that's an important thing that we relay at the very beginning of the relationship. Even though we do everything possible, we're going to have issues. Either you have a guest who has unrealistic expectations around life in general, or there is a true issue. Your cleaners are human, nobody's perfect, and life happens. The most important thing to remember is we are in the hospitality business. It is your job to validate that issue as a host, respond, and resolve. Sometimes it's offering to send another clean. I've offered that, honestly, knock wood, to date. It's never been something anyone's taken up. Most of the time, I will over-respond and I will apologize. I will tell them about our checklist and tell them all of the things we do to try to avoid issues for our guests, and really just validate. I'm not going to argue with you. Yes, you're right. That's unacceptable. And I am so sorry. That is not how we treat our guests. And I know my cleaners want to do a better job. And most of the time that's enough. I will refund a cleaning fee at the drop of a hat because it's very rare. But the reason I do that is because I'm not going to argue with you. I don't need to change anything about your perception of the situation outside of, did it get handled in a way that made me happy? Absolutely. And most of the time, the guest ends up leaving a 5-star review regardless of the issue. And so the bit of cleaning fee that I will sacrifice for that is well worth it, because at the end of the day, as those guests are more and more satisfied, they're recommending their friends, they're talking about us, they're really bringing in that referral business, and that's really what it's all about. And then from that point, I'll take that information and go back to my cleaners, and we will retrain, we will reteach, we will retouch that checklist if we need to. We move on. I'm not going to browbeat anyone. Everyone's understanding, you get some grace, but at the end of the day, I do run a business. If this continues, you will no longer be a part of it, but everyone's on board, everyone feels good about the resolution, and we all move forward and just get better. So that is the goal of any team. When you have the right team with you, everyone really works together to cover each other's back and to really be honest with one another. And I feel like I have that right with my client or my cleaners, and they appreciate that. It's to the point, we're going to move on. I fixed it. Don't let it happen again. So at this point, if anyone has any questions, I know I kind of went very fast through that, but I definitely had a lot of material to cover. But if you have any questions, let me know. You can post here and we can answer those. We have a bit of time before we need to log off. Or again, feel free to reach out to me privately if you have questions, any suggestions, any best practices that you have. I'm always open to learning. You can scan this QR code. This will take you to my calendar. You can schedule some time. We can chat. I'm happy to help. I'm very passionate about guest and client service, and I know that cleaners are such a valuable part of that. And if no one has any questions, we can go ahead and wrap up. And I appreciate everyone spending some time with me today.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
There. Happy holidays to you as well. I'm going to take no questions as I covered all material ever for this topic, and I'm going to count that as a win. So anyone needs to reach out to me, feel free. Thank you all so much for your time, for your attention, and have a great holiday, and we'll see you in the new year. Take care.